Welcome to Subramani. People have been asking me when I was recently in Punjab. People have been asking me one question: should we now avoid debt funds because of the taxation? The answer is very difficult to say, because if you are putting money in, say, a liquid fund or an ultra short bond fund to do an STP, then it remains as it is, because it was earlier also taxed because you were anyway withdrawing as soon as you deposit. So there the taxation has not changed. Yes, if you are going to put money in an ultra short bond fund saying I am not going to touch this for 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, now the way it is being taxed is different. So to an extent, maybe you should not be investing in debt fund. Having said that, let me also add that today some products are available. They are all in the hybrid sector, where you will be taxed at 20%, including with indexation. That's a good way of being taxed. It is definitely less than the 30% tax bracket in which you will be. However, investing in debt funds is not a bad idea if you think that you are, say, 47 years of age and you will start in withdrawing only when you are, say, 70. So which means you have another 23 years to go, or you have another 15 years to go. Doesn't really matter. You put money in an debt fund, and if you think at that time that you are withdrawing, your income will be less than the taxable income, or hopefully by the time the taxation limits would have gone up, maybe it was 10 lakhs of taxation limits, then in such cases you may be able to withdraw you are at least postponing. Let me put it this way: once upon a time, before this amendment on 1st of April, not very long back, the logic of investing in debt funds was to say you put money in a debt fund, the money that is accrued to you is not taxed, right? It is taxed after 10-15 years. So if a 35-year-old puts money into a debt fund and withdraws it when he is 65, so he has postponed his tax by 30 years. At that stage you were getting indexed indexation and taxation. So you were paying almost zero tax, because assuming that over such a long period inflation is what would be met by your debt return. If it's slightly higher, you would pay a 20% tax, which was not much. Now what has happened is the postponement is still available. You can still postpone your tax by 20-30 years, and then you withdraw, as you will paying tax at current rates, but you will withdraw only as much as you need. What you don't need will just lie there. Maybe your children will inherit it. So debt funds have not lost their need to be there. However, if you are going to withdraw, then it doesn't matter whether you are in a debt fund or whether you are in a bank deposit. But just hold on. If you don't withdraw your bank deposit over 15 years, still every year you pay tax. Whereas in a debt fund, you will pay only after 15 years. And after 15 years, suppose you have put 10 lakhs and that has become, say, 25 lakhs after 15 years or after 25 years. At that stage you can decide how much to withdraw. Suppose the taxable limit is 10 lakhs, you withdraw 10 lakhs, then you will be taxed, you won't pay any tax, right? So you decide when to withdraw, therefore you can decide when to pay the tax and how much tax. How much tax depends on the tax bracket at which you are. So suppose after retirement your income falls substantially and you withdraw and you are no longer at the 30% slab, but you are at the 10% slab or the 20% slab, you are still better off than paying tax at 30% on your bank deposits. Having said that, there are other funds which are available which have debt kind of a taxation, like for example multi-asset allocation fund, or an equity kind of taxation like arbitrage fund, which actually have the risk of a debt fund, but luckily taxation of an equity fund. Or even if it is taxation of a old debt fund where you get 20% plus indexation, that's not too bad a situation, which is most any multi-asset allocation fund which is treated like the old debt fund, which means it has 35% in equity. So if you sit with an advisor who understands taxation, you will be able to know which are the funds in which to invest, especially if you have a long-term horizon, and what happens if you have a short-term horizon. If you have a short-term horizon, something like an arbitrage fund is good. But please understand, some fund managers take an open position even in an arbitrage fund, which is unheard of, which should not happen, but it does happen. Maybe it's just an overnight position or whatever, but the risk in an arbitrage fund is not like a liquid fund. So please don't make that mistake. Whoever tells you, it's almost impossible to lose money in a in a liquid fund. Even in an ultra short bond fund over a week, you should not lose money unless something dramatic happens, as long as you are all in growth schemes. So you can do all those things. Also understand, in a debt fund, if you are in a dividend scheme for somebody who does not have much income, the debt fund is also going to give you a tax loss which you can use for tax harvesting. So there are advantages of investing in a debt fund. But you should understand the tax implications much better. So some funds which are the old debt taxation may be better than the pure debt fund of today, especially if you are going to be a long-term holder. For example, if it's a long-term debt fund, a long bond fund typically, as it is called, will 2035 maturity or something like that, chances are on maturity the whole thing will be taxed in your hand, unless at that stage they decide to make it open-ended and let you withdraw whenever you want. Right? So understand debt funds. Debt funds have not lost the raison d'etre of their existence. So it is worth investing in a debt fund, but you have to understand the tax implications for whom you should invest. For example, if you invest in a debt fund, in a growth option for your 13-year-old daughter, she's going to withdraw it at 18, 19, or just after she's attained majority. There is no question of any tax as long as she does not have taxable income. So she will definitely be on a lesser tax bracket. So, or on, if you're young, if you're 40, then putting money in your dad's name and withdrawing when he needs the money makes sense, rather than you paying the tax and giving him the money. So understand the tax implications of debt fund. Debt funds have a role, and ultimately your asset allocation, etc., cannot be, oh, I'll put only in equity because debt is being taxed. That is very foolish, right? That looks like a great solution in a bull market. In a bear market, you will have regrets. Also look at other things like RBI bonds, so SGB, sovereign gold bonds, right? All these things are attractive. And they should be compared to debt, right? Last few years, SGB has not done too badly compared to debt funds. But going forward, what will happen, we don't know. So allocating some money of yours into a SGB or a multi-asset allocator or an arbitrage fund, all these are good combinations to do while overall managing your asset allocation. Thank you.